Good morning. Welcome to our Talks to Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those new to the channel, we make mental health conversation content. It's going to be beneficial to your personal development in addition to your well-being, right? But in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about triggers, our invitation to slow down, right? So many people see triggers as something to avoid or immediately react to, right? Some people, like I said, out here, they like to get into some people's emotions. They like to tamper with you. They like to manipulate. They like to play games, right? But we have to be able to emotionally regulate ourselves, right? And realize like, yo, we don't gotta fall into that pit. Analogy, briefly, I want to get to you is that from my mentor back in the days is that a pig, right? A pig, apparently, I ain't no farmer, but he said a pig is like one of the dumbest animals, right? So it tends to just, you feel me, get messy, right? So are you gonna sit here and get yourself in that pig pen, put yourself in someone else's emotional world and let them tamper with you, and you realize at the end you scratch your head and y'all in distress, you muddy, you dirty, you feel me? Like, don't let someone else pull you into their world and play with you and get, you feel me? Let's regulate ourselves. Let's really have the capacity and the control over our body, you feel me? Our mind, our mentality, you feel me? And really regulate ourselves, right? But let's get some understanding. Let's normalize the experience because you're not the only one that's going through this, right? So everyone experiences emotional triggers, right? So triggers can happen during conflicts, criticism, rejection, or even moments of uncertainty, because you just don't know, you feel me? Life be life, and some people just be on some silly stuff, right? So when it comes to your, being triggered, it's easy to react, right? Like I said, some of us, we got to be thinking before we respond. Some of us put ourselves in compromised situations. I see videos on the news, I see videos on the fast food, people crashing out over different things, right? But let's make the connections, right? But we really have to understand, we have to be able to regulate ourselves, right? Because we don't want to put ourselves into a serious situation, right? We got to be able to keep ourselves at a neutral state, and that's why mindfulness, that's why doing these coping skills, mental health, right? All these things that we discuss and you hear about, we have to be able to do research on them so that we're able to understand the benefits, you know what I mean? And how we're able to implement these things into our life, because it could really make the difference, right? So being triggered doesn't mean that you're weak, doesn't mean that you're a failure, doesn't mean that you're a bum, right? It just means that your nervous system, is noting something that's really important, right? And that's where you come into play, where you need to be able to get some understanding and build that self-rapport, right? That's why I always advertise, you feel me? I always, advise, you dig? The journaling, because you want to be able to build that self-rapport with yourself to realize that, yo, this person got me pissed off, and you're able to build that self-rapport with yourself once again, right? And note take these things and really see like, how's the thing building up? How many times did this thing happen, right? What was the duration? You know what I mean? And you really need to look at it and be like, oh, this is the conversation. This is something I need to be able to, you feel me? Address, right? So there's different ways for us to be able to handle situations, but things we don't got to get physical. We don't got to call people out their name. We could be able to, like I said, regulate ourselves, be neutral, and really, be in our bag and be mature. You know what I mean? So, moving forward in regards to some psychoeducation, right? So, triggers often activate the body's stress response, before thinking, the thinking part comes into play, right? In every situation, like I said, is going to be different. Different people, like I said, have their own capacities, but like I said, we got to be able to make the connections, right? This also could lead to impulsive reactions, defensiveness, right? Some people, you feel me, they don't know how to, be accountable, let's be real, or emotional overwhelm. The slowdown creates a space to be able to, between the trigger and response. Like I said, when you're able to like slow down, that breath, that moment, that pause can really feel, like I said, really make impact, but you don't even realize it, right? So you don't have to, like I said, get into someone else's world, jump. You don't got to just, you feel me? Get into the defense mode. You don't have to just retaliate. You don't have to feed into that emotional, that trigger, right? Cool it, you feel me? Keep it cool. And I also want to say something too. People have different perceptions of things, right? So the way that you may be seeing something, someone else could be seeing it in a totally different way. So I really want you guys to understand, like, really have capacity over your life. Really allow yourself to realize, like, the world ain't just revolving around you, right? Everybody's living in their own bubble, right? So I really want you to understand about when it comes to people, you being triggered and stuff like that too, because sometimes these things are not even intentional. You know what I mean? It's just how you feel about yourself. And some of us, like I said, we have trauma. We come from dysfunctional dynamics, the way our people talk to us or whatever. Like, some little thing can really cause us to impulse and pop, right? So, but we have to be responsible. We have to have the understanding and the capacity and the bandwidth, and you feel me, over ourselves. It's your responsibility to get that support. It's your responsibility to build that self-rapport. You understand? So I really want us to have that understanding, because you leading to yourself to get triggered, you feel me? We all have this impulse, but we also have to be able to regulate it. You got to control it, right? So like I said, that pause is something that can be able to give us that awareness, so we're able to, like I said, know how to navigate when distress does come our way, right? moving forward in regards to practical reframe, because from reaction to reflection, we got to be able to, like I said, think about our behavior, think about, you feel me, how we're able to improve, or you feel me, when we lash out, we get triggered, right? So instead of asking yourself, how do I stop from feeling like this, right? Ask yourself, what is the reaction trying to show me? What's really going on right now? Like I said too, some of us come from dysfunctional dynamics. You're dealing with people trying to manipulate you, right? Your nervous system's always just, you feel me? And you're just so prone to just crash out or just cuss the person out. Let's be real. Let's get real with it. You know what I mean? But like, let's really understand, like, where is this coming from? How we're able to regulate ourselves when someone says something. How can we set the boundary? Right? When are we going to be able to be like, enough is enough? No. I'm not doing that, and really be able to express ourselves, you know what I mean, with clarity. We don't got to keep going back and forth, and I mean, we have to be able to walk away sometimes, you know what I mean? But you got to be able to, like I said, maintain your peace of mind, something that you can't put the dollar amount on, you feel me? Make sure you're doing things to keep that mindfulness, you're keeping yourself regulated, you know what I mean? Go to the bathroom, put your hand on DBT skills, put your hand on some cold water, something like that, like, can we splash your face, something like that, like, really make sure that you have, you feel me? You in tune with yourself, you feel me? The more time that you spend with yourself, the more, you feel me, you're gonna gain this skill, that self-awareness. But like I said, y'all, we gotta be able to, like I said, slow it down and really develop, you know what I mean? That curiosity, and question ourselves about what's going on with our emotions, right? So curiosity can lead to, like I said, that greater self-awareness and that criticism, right? We're not here to beat ourselves down. We're not here to self-sabotage, but we have to, like I said, we gotta be accountable. We gotta be able to be, you feel me? We gotta be accountable of our behavior. The things that we say, because like I said, the power of the tongue, you know what I mean? Like, we cause damage, you feel me? So we gotta hurt people. What are we doing? Good people leave things better than they initially were from the jump, you feel me? So I want us to like make the connections, y'all. How are we gonna be able to improve our situation, right? So we don't gotta beat ourselves down, but let's take accountability, right? I mean, let's learn, and let's move on so we're able to, you know what I mean, with the more correction in regards to how we're able to look at things, right? So my trigger doesn't, like I said, need an immediate reaction. It needs immediate attention, you know what I mean? Once again, we gotta look at ourselves, we gotta look at our capacity, we have to have understanding over our wellness and our behaviors and our actions, right? Different examples I want to be able to provide, right? Criticism might reveal that fear of not being good enough. I mean, some of us, like I said, come from dysfunctional homes. The things that people said to you, right? Self-differentiation. You got to be able to find yourself and be able to, like, yo, the role, the person, the character that someone else developed of me, that's not me, right? So there's a lot of things that we have to do and understand and get support on. Therapy, you feel me? I'm putting y'all on a game. This is some real stuff, you know what I mean? But feeling dismissed may, you know what I mean, point out the need, you know what I mean, for respect and validation. So if someone may trigger you because you don't feel like you're amounting to something like that, or you feel like someone's trying to try you, you feel me? Once again, y'all, everybody has their own perception. Don't let someone else's, you feel me, demeanor, the aura, whatever they got going on, deteriorate what you got going on, right? Keep your capacity, keep your head high, keep your chest out, you know what I mean? Respect, right? And just keep it pushing. Right? Feeling overwhelmed may be a sign that you take it on too much. You feel me? The stress. You gotta realize the signs. Self-care, y'all. Enough's enough. Boundaries. You feel me? Take off. You sick day. You feel me? Mental health day. Do what you gotta do, right? Or conflict may highlight, that you need to be able to have clear communication and healthier boundaries. You know what I mean? Some of us need to advocate for ourselves, right? Closed mouths don't get what? Don't get fed. No one knows what's going on inside your mind, inside your bubble, what you got going on, as we discussed, right? So it's really important for, like I said, we have to be able to build this self-rapport with ourselves, know when we're tired, know when we're irritable, know when we're stressed, know when we need support, know when we need to advocate for ourselves, you feel me? You know what I mean? So I really want us to understand, like I said, no one's gonna know you more than yourself, and it's really important for us, like I said, know when you're triggered and know, like I said, the perception of things, because not everybody's trying to attack you. Not everybody's trying to harm you, right? But you have to get the awareness and the attention over yourself, so you have the awareness of what's going on with your emotions. Because like I said, some of us need healing. Some of us need support. Some of us need understanding, right? And when we're mad, we're angry, right? We can make irrational decisions. We can cause more damage. We can say different things to some people, right? And some people have that mentality where it's like, you know what I mean? Sorry, you don't cut it. So it's going to take time for them to heal from the damage that you caused. You know what I mean? So we have to understand our behavior. We got to understand our actions, right? But let's move on to, micro actions, because we know better, we tend to what? We tend to do better, right? So next time, like I said, you're triggered, pause before you respond, think before you go and respond, walk away, you feel me? It's not you're weak, you're not a bum, you're choosing to respond maturely, right? So really assess the situation, y'all, because not every reaction, not every fight, you gotta retaliate. Not everything that you feel me, you don't need a response to. You feel me? We can take the capacity, we can take the control over ourselves, over our life, and choose peace. You feel me? We don't always gotta choose arguments. We don't always gotta choose, you feel me, to react, right? I really want to take that into consideration, right? So once again, slow down, breathe, right? Ask yourself, what am I, you know what I mean, emotions am I feeling right now? Get in tune with yourself, yo. What's going on? What need or values feels, you know, threatened right now? Like, what are my beliefs right now? How do you want to respond? Right? Then react, right? How are we going to respond, right? We don't need to get physical. You feel me? Let's be real. We don't need to compromise our well-being in our life right now. What can we say? Or what can we do to walk away in a sense? Like let's be the mature person, right? Like I said, not every situation we gotta retaliate to. I really want to take that into consideration, right? So that few seconds of that awareness, that pause can prevent hours of regret, can prevent you from being tore up, can prevent you from, you feel me? Like I really want us to understand that. Like I said, words cause damage, behavior causes damage, right? And I really want us to understand is that we don't always have to be jumping into our impulses because we feel some type of way, right? We can feel the way we feel and our emotions could be our emotions, right? But we can understand that we don't have to, you know, dive into causing destruction, if you understand what I mean. You feel me? So let's, like I said, let's build some self-rapport. Let's get the support that we need. Let's gain the awareness over ourselves. Let's get the information, the knowledge, provides some protection. So protection helps us to navigate much better, right? So we understand there's people out here that are trying to trigger us, to try to, you feel me, to provoke us. We gotta get real with it, you feel me? But we have to understand how we're gonna respond to it. All right? We don't gotta crash out. We don't gotta, like I said, get into the pig's den and get all money, whatever. We can, you feel me? I ain't even gonna interfere. I'm gonna keep it regulated. I'm gonna keep it cool. Let me do me. I'm gonna let you just, you feel me? You do what you do. I'm gonna keep it over here, like on the tennis court, right? So let's understand, like I said, we gotta take care of our wellness. Let's keep our mindset, right? Keep our peace, you feel me? Let's choose peace, right? Let's maintain ourselves, right? Let's love ourselves, right? And, you know, things will be able to improve as we're navigating within our journeys, right? If you found this video beneficial, give it a thumbs up, share if possible, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay blessed.